In a massive real-life recreation of Squid Game, 456 participants entered a colossal set to compete for a grand prize of $456,000. The atmosphere was tense as the first challenge, red light, green light, was announced. Contestants had just 30 minutes to cross a finish line on the far side of an enormous arena without moving during red lights. Each player wore a device that simulated elimination when movement was detected during a red light. As the game began, the command green light was enthusiastically given, triggering a rush forward, only for red light to quickly follow, causing panic and sudden stops. As players were caught moving, their devices activated with loud pops, signaling elimination. A crowd of contestants began to drop as the rules of the game punished even the smallest twitch or stumble. Some participants used clever tactics, like taking slow, deliberate steps or squatting to maintain balance. One particularly diabolical moment included a fake yellow light call that tricked several players into moving and being eliminated. Over 100 players were out within the first several minutes. The pressure mounted as the clock ticked down, with some players barely moving at all, hoping caution would carry them through. One contestant in last place said they were letting others clear the path, moving at a snail's pace in hopes of avoiding elimination. As the host toyed with timing and commands, stress levels soared. Gradually, a few brave and careful contestants made it across the finish line. Applause and cheers erupted as the first finishers completed the challenge, knowing they'd advanced. With less than a minute left, panic set in. Players sprinted furiously, with many getting eliminated just steps from the finish line. The final moments were chaotic, but eventually, 232 survivors crossed. The next game was Honeycomb. Players each chose a mystery tin containing a cookie with one of four shapes: triangle, circle, star, or the dreaded umbrella. Using needles, they had to carve out their shapes within 10 minutes without breaking them. Anxiety spiked as umbrellas were revealed. Many feared the intricate design, notorious for its difficulty in the original show. A few sighed in relief after receiving triangles or circles. The quiet scrape of needles on brittle cookie echoed across the room. Some participants quickly succeeded while others watched their cookies snap in despair. Plot twists included one player secretly dropping a lighter to help others soften the cookie edges, a clever homage to the original series. Still, broken cookies meant immediate elimination. Near the end, a few umbrellas were completed flawlessly, including by contestant 067, often referenced as having plot armor due to her prominent role in the show's adaptation. Cheers erupted as the countdown ended. With only 142 survivors remaining, the host offered a tempting choice: leave now with $4,000 in cash. Several contestants took the deal, while others stayed, eyes on the $500,000 prize. The remaining players were instructed to form groups of 10 in preparation for the next brutal challenge, tug of war. Some teams focused on strength, others on strategy. Team alliances formed quickly. One group proudly declared "no girls allowed," relying purely on size, while others balanced intelligence with brawn. 12 teams in total were created. Matchups were drawn at random. The first contest, between Team 6 and Team 5, was a dramatic tug-of-war battle. With cheers from the crowd, the losing team fell from the platform and was instantly eliminated. The next match pitted Team 2 against Team 7. Tensions ran high as contestants braced, gripping the thick rope, adrenaline coursing. Team 7 prevailed, knocking out their opponents in seconds. Team 4, which included player 456, the main character, was considered a favorite. Their match against Team 10 was closely watched. The countdown began, and the clash started with an explosive pull. Ultimately, Team 4 triumphed in a dramatic victory. With cheers and screams echoing in the arena, the remaining teams stood shaken, knowing the games would only get harder from here. The competition pressed forward with fewer players and rising stakes, inching ever closer to the $456,000 prize. After tug of war, the number of players dropped from 120 to 60. It was a physically intense game, and some teams gave it everything they had. For example, in a match between Team 9 and Team 11, they pulled so hard that they nearly broke the platform. It showed how committed the contestants were to staying in the game. Some fan-favorite contestants like Player 456 and Player 067 survived the tug-of-war challenge. The players were exhausted but excited to move on. They knew that from now on, the games would become more emotional and personal. The host announced that the next challenge was marbles, just like in the original show. However, instead of choosing their own partner, the players would be paired with the person they had spoken to the most during the competition, often their best friend. This twist shocked the players. Many had bonded with their roommates or made close friendships throughout the game. Now, they were told that only one person from each pair could move on. This created intense emotional conflict. For example, players 067 and 431 were paired up. They were close friends, and everyone around them cheered and felt emotional. They even said, "We couldn't have done it without each other." Now, they had to compete against one another. Each pair was given 10 marbles and had to play any game they wanted. The first player to collect all 20 marbles would win. Some chose traditional marbles games from the show, while others created their own unique games. One group made a game using bricks. They threw marbles at the bricks, awarding different points depending on where the marble hit. Whoever had the most points at the end of the time limit would win. Other pairs used simple coin flips, trusting luck instead of skill. One player looked extremely serious and focused during the coin flip. When he won, he calmly told his best friend goodbye. It was emotional and difficult to watch. Many players became emotional during this round. They didn't want to beat their best friend. One contestant even said, "We promised we wouldn't screw each other over." But in the end, only one could move on. The host gave a countdown, 5 minutes left. Some pairs still hadn't started. One even joked about flipping a coin to decide everything. The moment was intense, emotional, and heartbreaking. At the very end, some contestants had to make hard choices. One player asked, "Are you sure?" and was given the chance to eliminate their partner by pressing a button. The host reminded viewers that someone who subscribed would win $10,000, adding a bit of humor to a tense moment. Once the timer ran out, all players who hadn't finished or decided were eliminated. This left the group much smaller and emotionally drained. They had just eliminated their closest friends in the game. Now it was time for a special mini-game called Dokji, which involved flipping a red tile on the ground using a blue one. The first 16 players to flip the red tile would move on to the next round, the infamous glass bridge. At first, no one was successful. But soon, people started landing flips. Players were given encouragement to yell, "Thank you Brawl Stars." The sponsor of the event, before throwing, and surprisingly, it worked for a few. Slowly, 16 people completed the challenge. Those who couldn't flip the tile in time were eliminated. Each of the remaining 16 winners received vests and were brought into a new room filled with mannequins. The mannequins had numbers written in Korean. The number each player selected determined the order in which they would have to cross the glass bridge. This added a huge risk for whoever picked the first number. One girl got number 1, which meant she had to go first. Everyone reacted with shock and nervous laughter. Picking early numbers made survival harder, as you didn't know which glass tiles would break. The players arrived at the glass bridge set. It looked just like the show, 2 rows of glass panels stretching across a high platform. One panel in each row was tempered glass and would hold weight, while the other would break. The game began. The first player bravely stepped forward and survived the first jump. The rest followed cautiously. As time passed, some made lucky guesses, while others fell into the foam pit below and were eliminated. The bridge quickly became chaotic. Players started hesitating, refusing to move forward. Some stepped up to help, while others waited, hoping someone else would take the risk. With time running out and jumps left to make, tension grew fast. As the glass bridge timer hit the final seconds, tension rose rapidly. Players crowded together, scared to make the final jumps. The host shouted for them to take a leap of faith, with only 30 seconds left. Some moved, while others hesitated. When the timer reached 0, MrBeast reviewed the slow-motion footage. For contestants, players 16, 8, 13, and 5 were still on the glass panels and thus eliminated. They were asked to jump off the bridge as a symbolic goodbye. The remaining players had successfully made it to the final round. Now down to the top 6 contestants, they were treated to a surprise, a steak dinner. Although they were given plastic knives, unlike the original show, they enjoyed a celebratory meal to reflect on their journey and build up strength for the final game. Each finalist shared what they would do with the prize money. Some planned to give it to their families, others to charities like Team C's. The atmosphere was a mix of nervous excitement and heartfelt determination. Everyone wanted to win, but they respected each other's efforts. MrBeast then gathered them for the final challenge. Instead of playing the actual Squid Game, which most didn't know how to play, he chose a familiar and suspenseful game, musical chairs. It was simple but added high tension and fair randomness. The music began, and players circled the chairs. When the music stopped, the first contestant to miss a seat was eliminated. He stepped into the symbolic coffin and exited the game, accepting his fate graciously. With each round, one chair was removed, and the intensity increased. One player even accidentally sat down before the music stopped and was immediately disqualified. Everyone had to be alert and perfectly timed, making each round more stressful. The game quickly went from 5 players to 3. During the next round, another contestant was eliminated, claiming that others were plotting against him. It was clear that as the stakes rose, so did the tension between players. Finally, only 2 contestants remained. They were instructed to keep moving at all times, with no stopping or hovering near the chair. The music played while suspense built. Suddenly, the music stopped, and one of them claimed victory by sitting down just in time. Player 079 was crowned the winner of the entire Squid Game challenge, walking away with $456,000. The runner-up received a surprise consolation prize of $10,000. MrBeast congratulated everyone, thanked the original Squid Game creators for inspiration, and reminded viewers to subscribe for a chance to win $10,000 themselves.